My wife suggested that we make a video of how to play with the high. It's about that time of year. In fact, it's a little on the late side to start preparing the high for the row. So, first of all, you take the high that you've been saving all year out of the row and furrow. This is the Joe. It's the new high. Of course, it's mixed in with a little bit of the old. And this needs to be washed. So we'll put it in a bucket. I suggest using a white bucket so you can actually see what's going on in there. It's a little easier. There's one other thing for your own protection. You might want to wear a mask. Good old N95 dust mask. Because you don't want to breathe this stuff. And we need water. Lots and lots of water. We need 3 hands to do this. Like I said, I really need 3 hands. Oh. Okay, enough of that. Then we need to stir this. I'm using a bamboo stick, but any stick will do. And now let us just cover this, and this needs to sit. And we will come back to this later. So this is step 2. Well, actually, I guess we're not really counting. You can see why you want to use a white bucket. You can easily see what's going on once the high is settled to the bottom. Now you'll see that there is some foam and stuff on. That needs to be skimmed off and remove as much of the floating material as possible. So let's see if we can do some of this. This is basically like making soup. Skimming off the skimming the crud off. Now you want to pour off the water and always pour it very, very slowly into a container. So if you make a mistake, it's not fatal. And you can see why you need to do this slowly. good. The ash is pretty clean. The water is fairly clear. Sometimes the water will be murky or even yellow. At any rate, we probably don't have to repeat this wash, but we will. It's a little difficult for me to do with 2 hands, which really takes 3. Since we don't really want to pour off the ash, let's call it done. You can see there still is quite a bit of charcoal mixed in with the, but that's okay. You can see the main ash there. So that will do it for now. So the next step is to prepare the tea solution that we're going to soak the ash in. Now for this we need some tea. In this case we're using bancha, which is the classical thing to do, but any kind of tea will suffice. And we've used this several times now, that's why it looks so ugly. This is a paint filter, and we've used it to make a kind of giant sized tea bag. And we're going to put that in this pot and boil that out of it. And then we're going to take the tea and we're going to put it in this pot and concentrate it by boiling it down even further. As you can see, we've got some hot water going here, and we have some ladles to transfer between pots. And we'll keep this up. We'll need to make probably about a gallon of tea. So we've put maybe 3 or 4 handfuls of tea in this paint filter to make our giant tea bag. Here, doing this with one hand is not ideal. Now the idea of this, of course, is to color the ash to make that kind of tan color. And after we finish this, make this stuff up, we'll get to the next step, which is to put the high in. Well, I use a mortar mixing tray, which you'll see momentarily, and I put the high in there and then mix in this tea solution and the new ash that you saw us wash. So let's move on. So here we have everything going away. We've got water heating. We have the tea being brewed, and we have the tea being concentrated. Basically, we take water from there, put it in there, and then move it into there. So here we have the mortar mixing tray, or concrete mixing tray. Just to give you an idea of size. There is my hand. This bucket here has the leftover ash from last year. This is dry, and it's fairly clean, so I'm not going to wash it this year. So I'm now going to put the ash into this tray, and then we're going to start adding first the new ash, and then lots of that concentrated tea solution that we're making in the kitchen. So just to give you an idea of what we're trying to do, you can see this is ready. It's a very dark color, basically tea ink, and we're going to pour that on the high. But we're going to we need lots more. So we will continue the process, adding this. You can see here's what it looked like before, and concentrated, this is what it looks like now. Oops. So we've added a couple of gallons of concentrated tea solution and mixed it so it's as homogeneous as possible. And they say to mix it to the consistency of tsuchikabe, in other words, plaster. And I think we're just about there. So my wife will be happy. She can have her kitchen back. At the moment, I've got a couple of, well, as you know from the shots of upstairs, we've got a couple of pots on the stove boiling away. Now this has got to sit and dry. Now the traditional way of doing this is to put this at this stage into buckets and let it sit for several months. But since we're doing this in a little more of a rush, I'm going to do what I normally do, which is, if the weather allows, put this out in the sunshine to dry. In which case I've made a cover. It's basically window screening, a frame to fit over the top of this so that I'll keep it relatively clean. So that is the first step, or actually I guess it's the second one. Once this is dry, we've got to sieve it, and they recommend a 3mm sieve for Omotesenke style high. Different schools of tea use different different consistencies, shall I say, or different grain sizes. We recently visited the Yabanouchi folks, and they use a grain size that's considerably larger than Omotesenke does, and Omotesenke's size is much larger than Urasenke's, and those are the only ones that I'm relatively familiar with. So we need to continue this at a much later date. So thought I should show the hide drying, though the sun has now gotten behind the house, so we're done for the day. It's been out here for a couple of days, and it has been hot as it's during what we call Indian summer. So it could very well be that we might be done, and any residual drying we might do inside, but we haven't decided that yet. At any rate, you can see here they have the screen over the top to keep garbage from ending up in the ash. I've put this on board a dolly to make it easier to move about, because it's very heavy, especially when it's wet. So, hope this helps. On to the next. So, the critical point of making rawhide is sieving. Now, what you need is a sieve that's about 3 millimeters. I've made my own here out of hardware cloth, 1/8 inch hardware cloth. 1/8 of an inch is about 3 millimeters. You can buy soil sieves that are made for bonsai, and they can be 3 millimeters, but their 3 millimeters is more like 2.5. Also, the wires for hardware cloth tend to be thinner, so there's less crushing and more cutting of the clods of hide. So let me see here. This is an example of of what I'm talking about. And as you can see, what I've got here is actually one of those soil sieves, but what I'm using is the largest size, which I'm using as a foundation to support the hardware cloth. This particular sieve also comes with a 2.5 millimeter sieve, which I have used previously, but I found this crude hardware cloth sieve to give better results. Now, the other thing that comes in real handy is a good old-fashioned spray bottle here, which is very useful for moistening the ash if it gets too dry. Also of use are these, I found that these are used for applying the tape between plasterboard. Let's see, what are they called? I think they're called taping knives. They're plastic, and you can use them to just like the stuff you use for sieving tea. Only these are the, shall we say, the giant economy version. So that's pretty much it. That's what you'll need to get good quality high. It's somewhat difficult to judge the moisture content of the high, which is very important. You don't want it too dry, you don't want it too damp. Obviously, if the high is sticking to the sieve, it's too damp. And this ash is probably a little too dry. But I think it's within the... You'll note that you can use these taping knives. I kind of prefer to use my hands so I can feel, but as I said, these work much like the gadgets you use for sieving tea. But again, the most important thing is the size of the sieve. 3 millimeters is ideal. I think, let's see. Three millimeters is about 1 boo. And that's probably not a coincidence. I recently discovered that the different schools of tea use different size grains of ash for the roe. For the most part, Untitled ash is finer, and much to my amazement, I was shown that the ash that Yabanouchi Ryu uses is very, very coarse. Each of the grains is probably about 4 times the volume of the Omotesenke ash. Anyway, it's all quite interesting, quite fun. Of course, this is a messy job. Well, good luck. It's really quite the essential part, or one of the essential parts of row tea. Bye for now. Oh, here we go. I thought I should show you what the end product looks like. You can see it is rather coarse. There we go. That's what you're looking for.